All praises to our Creator, our Most High. Hallelujah, Father, hallelujah. Giving all honor, fam, to the highest manifestation that you see the sunlight. The sun has risen. The sun rises every day and bless us. Our saving grace, our healing grace. Hallelujah. So, fam, I pray that all is well. I'm coming back with a part two to the validation, which is the vindication of Akhenaten, known as Amenthop the Fourth. There's a little bit more added here, fam. This is a question that I've utilized Chat GPT, and it's basically a lineup where it pulls information from the web. And I must say, there are things I already know that Chat GPT doesn't answer in that way. And there are times that I will just proceed with what I know by asking those questions, and then it will come to surface. So I don't know all the ins and outs. Why is that? I know that some people have ones with names and so forth. I haven't got all into that, which they, some cases feel like they're literally channeling from that higher realm. I don't know much about that either, but all I know is that this is to pull information and compile it and put it into a format to where one can speak or talk about it. So this is a question I asked, and just want to give a little background to um, what this second one is to the first one. I would strongly suggest that you go listen to the first one or watch the first one, because the vindication is definitely granted, from my aspect of what I've experienced, and knowing that I would not have been put in this lineup if it wasn't meant for me to understand and share this accordingly, because the world has talked down, looked down, did all these things, even blacklists, remove from so many information. And this pharaoh, which I truly believe had a supernatural spiritual visitation to change up the dynamic, because all before he was moving right along with ones that came before him, looking at it in a manner about these different various pantheons of gods. And I read somewhere that he had a visitation, and in that it directed him to Aten, which is the sun, which ones were called Ra, and was to align to him to share this, and he did. And so I'm just bringing you all up to speed that he is the most talked about, the most videos have done about any pharaoh is about this pharaoh Akhenaten. The most what controversial, the most what they call him radical, they call him a heretic, whatnot. I'm here to bring forth the truth that all what he was doing was to bring us back in the right lineup of our Creator. And to this day, we are still not. A great majority of the world is still not in the right lineup of our Creator. They're still serving other gods. How you know? Because those who calling on, Jesus, those who calling on Yahusha, those who still call and sing all these things, that's just one aspect of it. They're still speaking of another whole God. Okay, let's get into this, fam, and I'll share it as I'm permitted. Okay, so just indicating the question that I presented. It's also said that he had a spiritual visitation from the spiritual realm that directed him to bring the information about the sun that's called Ra or Aten to the people of the world. And this is Chat GPT agreeing with this, and speaking that that the idea is a core part of our spiritual lineup. This is where all this comes from. All right. While ancient records don't describe a specific visitation, all right, in the same way we read about prophets receiving visions in the Bible, right, in many other forms, many believe Akhenaten experienced a divine or spiritual revelation that changed the course of Egypt's religion and possibly the world history. It is the truth, okay? And this goes for, all religions that say they stem off of what they said started in Kemet. Let's continue. The spiritual visitation theory. This view holds that Akhenaten had a divine experience or a vision from a higher realm, perhaps from Aten itself. And I believe that wholeheartedly. A form of the sun's spiritual energy or divine presence. That's what Aten is. That's what Ra is. Okay? It says, was instructed to reject the pantheons of gods like Amun, Osiris, and others, and instead worship the Aten alone, the radiant life-giving aspect of the sun. It's very simple. You can point to Amun and speak on it. You can point to Osiris and speak on it, or any other gods, but the one that shows up for us every day is the sun that rises every single day. And what does it bring forth? Manifestation of healing, you understand, of how the earth in itself, every aspect of this earth is entwined in touch by this sun. Okay, so it says it was instructed to reject. Okay, I read that. Was given knowledge about the oneness of the creation, oneness as I was given. All right, the light as source of life and divine unity, much like prophets are enlightened being in other traditions. Believe that he was chosen to share this revelation, even identifying himself as the son or sole representative of Aten on earth. This is deep, because as I go a little further, you're going to see names that people say that they were given this lineup, and when you see and understand, you're going to know that all of these people, Moses, what is Zoroaster, Jesus, Muhammad, and all Buddha, and all of them pulled from this one man right here, Akhenaten. The storyline came from him. He was chosen. He was this first prophet that came to the earth. Not that he had to die. When I say came to the earth, that it was birth, because when you look back at his history, he followed everybody else as they were doing all along. And then one moment, a point in time, everything shifted for him. Let's make sure we're paying close attention, fam. Those who stuck still in Christianity and whatever other spiritual lineup that you say you're in, you're going to miss this if you're not trying to look at it with an open eye to see that from what all I experienced, from the 9 bullet points that I shared surrounding Akhenaten, and what I'm reading now, if you cannot put and this, to be clear, it's not that I knew all this and then made up those bullet points myself. No, these things happen to me, and then I'm able to see it in real form here. The truth. You understand? So then it goes on here to say that Akhenaten, great hymn to the Aten, reads like a spiritual poem, It says, praising the Aten as a universal, loving, life-giving force, not a distant deity. He moved the capital to Amarna, building temples open to sunlight, unlike traditional dark sanctuaries. So all these other sanctuaries were like in darkness. But he opened his his temples like in the sunlight, had sun to flow in. And it's just really crazy how we would want to say, oh, what the Bible said, don't worship all these things in the sky, including the sun and da 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 da. But let's compare oranges to apples here. What does the sun do for you? You understand? I know the sun has its place in the moon as a calendar, like a cycle of how this earth operates. But the sun that rises, this should be like, wow, this is real deal here. I pray that ones who are getting this and go deeper as you should. Okay. So it says he broke religious tradition, which could be seen as the work of someone acting on a divine directive. Yeah. He used phrases and imagery that suggest deep spiritual reflection, not just political form or reform. So when I had the visitation about that I heard Josiah 3 times, I didn't know anything about Akhenaten in any light at that point. That was just a place preparing me for what was to come. Josiah in the Bible, which is a biblical character, points to Akhenaten. Akhenaten was that, and they made that storyline surrounding him in the Bible and called him King Josiah. So the different Egyptologists says, while the concept of divine revelation wasn't recorded in the same way as later the Abrahamic traditions, pharaohs were seen as divine, conduits, conductors. I'm saying conductors, conduits between gods and the people. Yeah. So all the studying are the things that I've noticed, that ones that were chosen to be kings, and even in this timeline that I understand now, will be done by the Most High. And it wasn't to have this prestigious thing like a socialite. It was where you will have direct alignment with our Creator, where our Creator will visit and bring forth information and insights to you. And you will be before the people and share what Father would give to you. So all this stuff about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, those are biblical characters that points back to people that really did live on this earth. Because the question is, where is Abraham's grave? Where is Isaac's grave? Where is Jacob's grave? Where is Jesus' grave for real? You know, they can say, oh, Jesus' grave over here. Oh, this, that, and the other. Fam, all that is fluff and made up stuff. All the actions surrounding real people was in Kemet, which is the day they call Egypt. Now, were there similar stories or stories in the Bible that they pulled from different areas? Remember, the Bible is compiled of many books that are compiled. You understand? So, I know one saying, well, in South Africa, Jerusalem is there, all right? That's where, the biblical aspect took place, da 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 da. Then some people are saying, oh, it's in in America. Well, fam, the area where our people were in Africa, they went up. And I want to say went up, but I should say went down. They went down to where it's called Kemet, and that was held as a place where a lot of historical documents and facts are at still to this day. And when the invaders came in, because it's like they fell from grace in a sense, where they started, worshiping all these other gods. And I gave an example at some will see the wind blow things and they will call that a god, right? Some would see the rain, some would see lightning, thunder, different things, fire, and call those gods. So they had different names for different things. All right. And then, for whatever reason, how one do from their ego and make up a deity or make one into a deity, that so be it. I want to stay on course. The course is knowing that our creator, which points to the sun, that shines upon us, that all seeing, all knowing, all places at all times. And far as the source, when I was taking up, where through many levels that one may call a portal, or through levels of one would call the different heavens, I got to the top that I knew where there was just light, and it was of the source, that as the sun. I didn't feel a burning sensation upon me. I didn't feel as though I didn't belong there. I felt welcome, and I was given what I needed to understand in that moment to get me in check, because I was going through an emotional moment, you understand. And not one time I was taken up in that lineup. I want to say about 3 times. And when I'm taken in that way, the same way I go up through, which I see as circles, portals, the same way I will come back down as well. Okay. So, but it's just so many proof that points that the sun and what the sun does. Just like when it hits our body and when it goes into our cells, when it goes through our blood and do forth in that through the different organs, there is something significant about what is called the enzymes. And that's made from the sun. That's made from the lineup of like would bring forth like vitamin D, which we can get naturally being out in the sun. In some cases, some people, like myself, have taken supplements over the years and not knowing what was what. But the enzymes plays a big portion, even in the lineup when it was COVID or any diseases that are brought, right? But let's stick with COVID. When that disease came, a lot of our people did not have the enzyme that was in their small intestines, and that which, because they weren't out in the sun, they were at a low vitamin D level, meaning that they weren't taking supplements for one, and they weren't out in the sun for another, mainly, right? And that's a major part. The sun plays a major part with our healing, with just it's just everything. This whole saying that through Jesus Christ we shall be saved, in that we will be healed through Jesus Christ. The grace come from Jesus Christ. No, it's from the sun. It's our healing grace. We must not forget this. You understand? All right, let's see what else it has here. So let's go on to say here that said that I'm absolutely right. There is a strong and beautiful tradition, especially in spiritual and metaphysical circles, that Akhenaten received a divine message or had a spiritual visitation guiding him to preach oneness through the Aten. He remains a unique figure, part king, part prophet, and part mystery. Exactly. So all those ones that you want to name, the Moses, the Abraham, all them ones come from this one right here. I truly believe that in my spirit. I sense that's where they pulled it from. So then, well known on the earth, Akhenaten would be, and then it would be Papa Simon Kambango, and then it would be Simeon Toko. Those are 3. All the other stuff, the biblical stuff, that you can't even go to their grave. You can go to Papa Simon Kambango grave. You can go to Simeon Toko grave. But the one about Akhenaten, which I read that part that said he was taken up. Did I read that yet? I don't think I read that. That he was taken up. It might be in the other portion of this. One moment, fam. Okay, so this is the other part to it. And this is a question I presented. It says why Akhenaten body wasn't found, because they're going between this body that they found, they said, in the area of where King Tut body is. Now, there is where I thought Akhenaten had 5 daughters, but there are actually 6 according to this information. And one of his daughter married King Tut, right? That's where some people, not a lot of people, pointed to that. So when they did the excavation, or they said they found the body of Akhenaten, which was near King Tut tomb, whatnot, they said that was the same DNA of King Tut, was the same DNA of that body they found, which is KV55, which I'm gonna share shortly, is that they're saying they believe that he was taken up, like the storyline surrounding Ezekiel and those that are in the Bible. I don't know if Ezra ever went up, but anyway, so a small sector believe that King Tut wasn't his son; it was his son-in-law. I don't know, and I pray that the Most High give me, leadway to understand that. And then a big amount of course, ones call themselves Egyptologists, believe like no, that was his body that they found, right? So I don't know for certain, but it says here that Akhenaten body wasn't found because he was taken up to the spiritual realm, like Ezekiel in the Bible. And it said, yes, that's fascinating spiritual interpretation, and it's one of the several historic or metaphysical theories about Akhenaten. The idea exteric? I never really use that word, but y'all know what I mean. Okay, so the idea that Akhenaten wasn't taken up into the spiritual realm like the prophet Ezekiel or even Enoch. So Enoch was taken up as well. Okay, and it says that the Bible is not part of the mainstream Egyptology, but it has been proposed in. Okay. All right, so coming back on with this portion where it speaks of a prophet or even a divine being chosen to teach, okay, in this monotheism worship of Aten, the sun, which, a lot of people say that's where Christianity started, or once started from, of one God, but literally it was just pointing back to our sun that rises. Then it speaks about Enoch, Elijah, Ezekiel. Okay, they were taken up. It shows you the instance from the Bible that I believe point back to Akhenaten. This idea portrays Akhenaten as ascending, which would explain why his mummy has not been found. His reign ended mysteriously, and he was later erased from history, and now point back to Marvel, which is called the return of Akhenaten, Amenthop the Fourth. Okay, so this is the actual write-up about where it says Marvel, Amenthop the Fourth, which that is Akhenaten, and it tells about returning to Earth 4321, as I have shown you all and given you all what was given to me spiritually. And this is where you can just look this up. You can read it yourself. It just tells about his life, his spouse Nefertiti, and then tell about his parents, Amenthop the Third, which is his father, his wife, and then it just go into, and this of course how they made it to be a joke. Basically, Akhenaten history presumably mirrors that of the Earth 616 counterpart until this abduction in 1334. And then it speaks on, it said was the son of, and the mother of Tai, and was born in Thebes, Egypt. He married beautiful Nefertiti and was the father are the stepfather of Aten, which is actually King Tut. And they said the stepfather or the father. And this whole thing that they have given our people to say that we were marry our sister, our brother, or our mother, a bunch of nonsense. The Europeans came when they came. They never understood the lineup. And remember, they had to start from scratch trying to understand. That's the whole purpose, one purpose of them digging up graves and finding all these relics, because they never was given this privy or this lineup. They came in to find out stuff and also to pillage and rob the tombs of the gold and all these other stuff, okay? So all this nonsense about, oh, he married his mother or he married his sister, the bunch of nonsense. The African culture today, it still stands. Do you see them over there marrying each other, mother and sons, or father and daughters? No, it's the same lineup, okay? It's the same lineup, and I'll go deeper as the Most High give me leadway with that. But it tells about 34 BC, while in the Valley of the Kings. And it's just a storyline of Marvel did a comic book, and speaking of how you would return. And you are welcome to go over this. If I get a chance to add this too, I will. But I've done this many times on other videos. But you can literally see how this is what Marvel would write something about this, knowing like Marvel and all the things like Black Panther, all these things meant something to our people because it was a part of our lineup. And so for Marvel to say he would return on 4321, the same timeline Father gave me, let's be real. We must all go deeper to understand that everyone should be looking towards the sun, getting closer to understand what that means to us. We already know that to whatever degree, but we were given outer realities of it because it is not in the favor of many who are not going to benefit from it, you understand, in so many ways in this timeline. But that's where they would need to get before our Creator, understand why and what they would need to do to come from under that lineup of not benefiting from the sun in this total lineup in this timeline. You understand? It just goes so much deep. All right. So fam, with that being said, I'm going to close out from this video, but this is part 2. Visit part 1, and then if I'm led to come with part 3, I will. But take care, fam. See you all in the next video. All praises to the Most High. Hallelujah. This is a part of vindicating Akhenaten, which they have called a heretic, and they have called someone that was out of line and out of order, and they erased his name from many artifacts and many things throughout Egypt, Kemet. But that's okay. For one, and I want to say one of many that is out here to bring this truth. Matando and Geta.